Okay, I think we're going. So, hi, I'm Mike London, and I'm visiting with artists who work in the Miami Valley. Culture Work supports so many artists and arts organizations, and this is a chance for us to get to know a few of them. So, today I'm speaking with Scott Stoney, who is an artist working in Montgomery County. So, Scott, thank you. I'm not going to do a big introduction, as I mentioned to
It's
you.
fine.
So you tell us. I see you as an artist. I have for years, but in lots of different ways. But I want you to define.
Okay,
Yeah.
here I go. So, being a senior now,
Oh.
I have a lifetime of careers in the arts.
Uh-huh.
So I've been very blessed to move through a number of different disciplines. I mean, they're all performing arts, but I started as an actor. But to be very truthful, I probably started as a musician because I started piano at 5. And I was accompanying everything through all of my school years until finally one day I was accompanying a show and I looked up there and I said, I think I can do that. And I tried it. So music has been a very big part of my career in theater. And I must say that the beginning of it was all musical theater. I'm currently right now what I think they're defining it as a founding resident artist of the Human Race Theater Company, which means I helped to start it.
You were at the beginning.
Yeah, I was at the very beginning. Yep. There
Yeah.
were 3 of us, myself and Marcia Hanna and
Yes.
Kevin Moore.
Oh, wow.
And Marcia has passed, unfortunately, but Kevin is still working right now as the artistic director, but he was the executive director for many, many of those 37 years.
Wow. Has it been that?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's been a long time. So, as I said, I started in musical theater, and then I made a choice when we decided to create the company to really focus on acting as much as I could. I was also a teacher of performing arts and all the various disciplines in that. I started at Sinclair Community College and put that program together, that acting program. And after about 30 years, I literally became a professional adjunct and just moved from college to college because I had some very specific skills in the performing arts. I was a makeup artist. I was into oral interpretation. So, if a college needed something, I was there to be able to provide it. But anyway, I started to focus on acting when we created the Human Race. And it was probably during those years that I also started to direct. So, if I could list them off, I've been a choreographer, I've been a music director, I've been a staging director. I have not stage managed, and I don't think I want to. But most of the career, most of the work that I've done has been acting.
It's interesting because so many performing artists have certainly not the exact experience that you've described, but they have a multitude of avenues where they've been an artist. But the thing that I find is interesting is so many of them, if I say, if you only had to identify yourself in one way, which artist would that be?
Yeah, that's tough. And I would say actor.
Yeah.
That's what people would recognize me the most because they see me. When you direct a show,
They don't
you're
see
never
you.
really seen. And so they don't even know, the public really doesn't know what a director does. And that would include anyone who's involved in the producing end of putting a show together.
Sure.
But I am probably most clearly recognized as an actor.
Is that
I was also going to say that
Yeah.
as a regional actor, which is different from, an actor in one of the urban centers like New York or Los
Sure.
Angeles or Chicago. Regional actors, we have to have a multitude of sources of income. So we look for opportunities to do any number of things in that field. So when they come along, we do it.
Wow. It may seem like a strange question, but have you ever thought about why? I mean, why are you an artist?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about it. especially when I first started to go into this field, and I had parents that wanted me to get something to fall back on, make sure you make some money. You can't make money as an artist. So, you know, I was constantly in discussions with them until they saw my craft. And that's when they started to become supportive of what I was doing. But I was an adult by then. I'd already made my choices. I'd already started that path. You know, but when I started college, oh man, I went through so many different majors. You know, I was a music major first. I was going to be a concert pianist. And then I started to move around until finally I ended up in education. I was at Bowling Green State University, and they really didn't have a performance degree. So I got my degree in education as a teacher of the theater and the performing arts.
What do you see here? I mean, you mentioned being in one of the industry centers in New York or in Chicago as a theater actor, as opposed to film,
right.
Which would include, you know, LA and New York, etc. But is there a difference? I mean, other than just that work, what's the difference in being a regional or a local? I mean, what does it mean to be an artist in Montgomery County and make your life here, as opposed to, because some people have asked you, so why don't you just go to New York and stay in New York? Or why don't you go to Chicago and go? I mean, you've had to have heard that question.
Yes, and I did.
And you,
I was in New York for 2 years.
and so why here? What is it that makes it work for you to be here?
Well, number one, I chose to move to Dayton after college because I kept going through Dayton on my way from Bowling Green to Kings Island, because every summer I was doing live shows.
Okay.
Musical theater.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw this beautiful little city on the right of 75 or on the left, depending upon which direction I was going. So, you know, I ended up settling here, and I started my career here and then moved to New York when I thought that I was in a position to give it a good go. I mean, if I was going to go, I needed to have money in the bank. I needed to have connections, those kinds of things. So I waited a while before I went to New York. And I did. I lasted 2 years, 84 to 86.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it. And frankly, I came back to start the Human Race Theater Company. Kevin and I got a phone call from Susie Bassani.
Yes.
Because we'd already connected with her when I was creating shows to present for the Muse Machine, when we were doing those in-school tours. I put so many of those together, you know, and was also a performer going into the schools. So I was already pretty well connected to Susie. So when she called and said, "The time is now, will you please come back to Dayton and help us start to create a professional theater company in Dayton?" And Kevin and I sat down and talked about it. This was in the 80s.
Yeah.
I have perspective now, and I can go, the 80s were not really good in New York.
Yes.
They were a little rough. The theater was not that great. There wasn't a whole lot of product, but that's when we went, and that's when we were there. Right. So we decided to come back. And it's not a decision that I regret at all, because being in Dayton allowed me to have a family and a home, and a place to be. And I didn't like the idea of being the itinerant actor that goes from city to city to city. Yes, I did some of that. I even got to tour Europe for a year and a half that way. And yes, it was fun and scary and difficult and all of those things, but I was so glad to come home. I had a pet. I'm looking for another one now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all of those perks that come with having a home that you own, you know, and having a partner that you marry and sticking around and that kind of thing. I mean, the pluses were just too much. They outnumbered, you know, the negatives.
Yeah. So in all of these years, you've had an opportunity to work with a lot of artists in all kinds of disciplines, but I mean, visual artists, performing artists, and whatever. I'm just sort of curious, is there anything that sticks out in your mind in terms of someone that you go, oh, I would love to work with that person again. That was fun.
Oh, well, I still, kind of, when Bob Hetherington moved away, he went down to Memphis, took a teaching job down there. He was at Wright State for many years. He directed my very, very first Sweeney Todd.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was a guest artist
I
at
remember.
Wright State. I wasn't a student, I was a guest artist who did the role along with the rest of the student cast.
Right.
But Bob was also one of the very first directors of The Human Race. He directed me in Count Dracula, which was one of the first. That was pre-Human Race, but it was right before.
Right.
That was our testing ground. We did it in the old Vic.
Yes.
And as a result of the success of that production, that's what started the ball rolling in Susie's mind about, I think we should create a company. And Bob directed that show. So I still would love to work with him again. He's had a marvelous career as well. And, we stay in touch, but he's pretty much stuck there. So
yes. Yeah, there's an incredible excitement in so many of the artists that I've spoken to, that they get this incredible opportunity to work with somebody and it changes things for them. And it sounds like that's the experience you have with Bob.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a theater, sometimes it's just the city. I got to do a show out in Sacramento. Never been out west before in my life.
Yeah.
I spent a summer in Sacramento. I had a great time. The theater was a little sketchy, but I had a great time. Never went back, but I had a wonderful visit of California. I got time to, in between shows and on days off, to explore Northern California, which I'd never done before. So yeah, likewise, when I got to go to Germany and toured Germany and all of its border countries, sure, doing a production of Phantom. It was a German production that had 5 American leads. The Germans were all the secondary leads, and the orchestra and the ballet, and I'm trying to think, most of the staff were Polish. Cheap labor.
Ah, okay.
Which is important over there. Yeah. So that was an opportunity to it was a bus and truck, and I was all over Germany, and that was great fun. And that scary, like it, and difficult, same things, but I love those kind of challenges.
So what's fun right now, or if not right now, because we are in the middle of this, the timing of this interview, we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So if not right now, when you think of, current times, if you will, in the last couple of years and what you're looking forward to, what is it that's going on locally here that just is exciting to you?
Well, certainly keeping the company going. I am now retired from teaching, but I still act as much as I can. Most of my acting career has been about transformation. Because I was a makeup artist, every role was a chance to be different. Mm-hmm. Because I learned very early in my career that it was really easy to become, there's that actor in different costume, but it's the same actor.
Yes.
So I learned to change. I would change hair color, I would change hairstyle, I would change facial hair or no facial hair, dialect or no dialect, or, all of those lovely little idiosyncrasies that actors do to be different, to have a different energy. And I think that's important, but now that I am white-haired and a senior, I'm typed. That's problematic for an actor. Yeah. Because now I have to wait for the plays to be produced that have that older character.
Right.
Because they won't just cast me because I can change my look, because my look is old.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck with that for now. So that's something that I'm dealing with right now. But I'm still grabbing at every opportunity. I mean, we just did a reading on Zoom of a new play by Rob Willoughby, and that was an experience. But in the COVID, we have to do what we can, you know,
Sure.
and everybody was in their own little window in their house and trying to interact and produce a play. So, and a lot of theaters are now doing that, you know, and that's
Yes,
part of it.
yes, yeah.
But, you know, always looking forward to the next challenge, whatever that is.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard some really, I've talked to so many people who actually tuned in to the Zoom.
Good.
They
Yeah,
said the one comment that I thought was really interesting was that when I was asking people about it, I was doing an interview with a series of people this past week, and I asked if anyone had had a chance to see it. And they said, oh, yes. And one of them said, that was the best $10 I donated to the food bank ever.
well, and that was it.
It
The
was
way we
great.
were able to get permission to do it was not to get a profit from it. So
Sure.
we had to find a charity to give to, and what better charity than the Dayton Food Bank?
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
know?
And I'm looking forward, as a matter of fact, I hope I'm going to be able to talk to Rob, the playwright,
Yes,
for
I
that
know
piece
he would
soon.
love to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah, exciting
Just
stuff.
a very
There-
sweet man and a great playwright. I really enjoy his work.
yeah, there's a lot happening here locally.
There is.
There really is. There's an awful lot. I don't want to keep, I'm going to be mindful of time today.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to add before I push us on to the next button and move on to the next interview?
No, because I'm not sure exactly I can talk about anything. So go ahead, bring up another topic. Let's go.
Well, one of the things that that I'm working on right now, and I'm helping some others with, and that's the funding for Culture Works.
Right.
I mean, for for everybody else who's listening, I mean, I ask them to please support Culture Works. I mean, the benefits are real. The arts are such an indispensable part of our community. It's such an incredible asset.
Well, and the human race depends on Culture Works, the funding that we get from Culture Works.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm looking across the board at all of the different arts. I'm looking forward to talking to some photographers and just the wide range of everything that we're here. And thank you today for this, because not only have we known each other for a while, so this is fun because we get to connect again, and you and I are both busy and don't always have that chance to connect. But thank you for letting us in to your life just for a moment, because one of the things that I want to do through this series, honestly, is just allow for people who are supporting Culture Works to know who are the artists in our community that are living here, creating incredible work. Who are they? And why are they here, and what's happening with them? So thank you for being a part of this sort of effort, if you will, to let people know who we are as artists here in the community.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
I always enjoy being out in the community, and, you know, occasionally, and it still happens, it just happened this week, I was out on the bikeway, and I was sitting down for a rest over at Deeds Point. And there was a couple on their bikes, and hey there, what? Are you with the human race? Yes. You're an actor, aren't you? Yes. You're Scott, but I don't remember your last name. So we got, you know, 6 feet distance, but we got a conversation going, and I talked them into tuning into the play.
Oh, that's great.
They weren't aware of it, but, you know, it's kind of nice when you get recognized.
Yeah.
You know?
So
it's lovely to be involved in this exchange so that more people can get to know me.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I've been so many people.
So there's one other thing that you're doing. I just now remembered something that I had wanted to ask you about. Yeah. And I know our time's limited, but I want to make sure to get this in, because it has to do with something that's happening here in the community. And it's been happening for a number of years. And what I'm talking about is, and I don't know the exact term because I know I've messed it up in the years past, but the performances and the if you will, that you are part of creating every summer, that brings alive a case.
Murder trials, yes.
Yeah,
old case files.
Old case files, that's the name of it. I'm going to have to write that down. But do me a favor, just real quick, for those people who've never heard of this, because I'm surprised. I know I brought my son to one. I brought my grandson to one of them. And but a lot of people don't know that it's out there. Talk
Right.
about old case files for a
Okay.
minute.
Well, first I have some bad news because of the virus
Yes,
canceling this summer.
right.
But we're all still working on the next trial, and
Good.
it'll be ready and in the can so that when they say go, Dayton History, because they're the sponsors really,
Okay.
then we're ready to go with it.
So-
Old Case Files is a
What is it?
creation of Margaret Piatt.
Uh-huh.
I worked with her at the, what was it, the Centennial of Flight, the big celebration we did.
Yes, yes.
That was my first time meeting her, and she comes from museum stock because she is part of the Piatt family
Yes,
and lives in one of the Piatt castles.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so she's the writer for the most part. She's the one who creates it, and she did a lot of the work on her own when we started. The program is now, this would have been its 8th year, and I've been with it from the very beginning. The idea is to reenact a Dayton murder trial that actually happened in the courthouse in Dayton. Now, the original courthouse is gone,
Right.
but the one that we perform in was not used very often, but it's there and it has a rotunda and it has the judge's bench, and that's where we perform. We select a jury from the audience when they arrive, and they take an oath to listen to the testimonies and to come up with a verdict. So they don't know what the verdict is and won't know until the end of the trial. So whatever their decision is what we go with, and then they learn what the Dayton people did 100 years ago. Most of these trials have been between, I'd say 1870 to 1930.
Okay.
That's the window right now.
I'm curious how many of the verdicts have separated from what the original was.
Many.
Because we judge on something different today.
Certainly, we've got forensics now. You know,
Yeah.
we got DNA. There are so many things that we have to suspend belief in
Yes.
when we're, learning the arguments. And, when I first read a trial, I'm like, well, I'm going to lose this one because there's no evidence to support, either the defense of this man, or there's not enough evidence to convict him, because I've played both sides. I tend to be one or the other. I'm either the defense attorney or I'm the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Right. I did get to do the judge once, and that was fun, but I kind of enjoyed, being the attorneys.
Yeah.
So, but it's a great experience for people to learn what the trials were like, what actually happened. Many times these locations, these houses where these murders happen, they're still standing.
Yes.
We
yes.
can go to the place where the murder happened,
Wow.
So it's really fascinating.
Scott, thank you. I'm so
welcome.
glad
Thank you.
I remembered that. I really appreciate this today. I'm going to hit the button here in a minute because we have to close off. But for anybody else who's listening, thank you, Scott, to you today. And anybody who wants to know about CultureWorks, if you would, go to cultureworks.org. Thanks, Scott. We'll talk again.
Thank you very much, Michael.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.